Hey, ladies. Hey,
Hey,
how are you ladies today?
good. Doing
Yeah,
good.
Good, hanging in there.
yes, yes,
Mm.
yes. Always good to see and chat with you all. Wow. So, wow, y'all, what episode is this? This is 12 for real. We're in the double digits, y'all.
Yes,
Oh,
we're
this is
halfway.
exciting. This is exciting. So I'm loving it. Fall is here, kicking in.
Yes.
Weather's changing, times are changing. Awesome, awesome. So today's topic is you don't want to be the best kept secret. Now this came up in a previous episode. I think it was episode 8 when we interviewed Caro Gomez, fashion designer from London. And when it was said, I think we all just kind of like froze, like, wow, that would be a great topic to follow up on in a
Yeah.
future episode. I was like, this is cool. So whether it's launching a new idea, whether you have idea, whether you think, oh, somebody gonna steal my idea, whatever it might be, right? So when we were talking about this topic, we were thinking, I was like, wow, what could we say about it, right? Just in general. So Shauna, did you want to start with some of the things that we were talking about in regards to this topic?
Sure, sure. So, for me, when I think about this topic, there's a couple things with it. So, you definitely don't want to be the best kept secret if you are trying to launch something like you mentioned earlier, or you're starting a brand, or you have some gifts and talents that you can give to the world, and the world needs to know about it because we need people. We need to all just show up for ourselves and bring the best to the forefront in order for us to be able to work together and know who's the go-to, like, who's the go-to for this, who's the go-to for that. And if you haven't established yourself or put yourself out there, which takes a lot of boldness, takes a
Mhm.
lot of trust, no one will know. No one will know what you have to offer or bring to the world. And but on the flip side of that, and I'm very guilty about this. When I have an idea or I feel like I could bring something to the world, I feel like timing is everything for me. And I am one of those that kind of like, well, I don't know if I want to put this out there just yet because it's not really solid. And I don't want anyone to kind of take or pick apart any of it and run with it. And I don't really have it solidified in a way that I want it to be. So sometimes I have a lot of ideas or creative things I want to add to my brand or business, or just, we talked about this, Jeanette, as far as like when you're working at a job, there's a lot of things that your coworkers may not know about you, a lot of
Mhm.
different skills, and a lot of places and spaces is not, it's not for everything, but if it coincides with your work and it can be used as an added bonus, not just for yourself but as leverage, then
Right.
that's a different piece to it too. But I think timing is everything. Feeling confident and just putting it out there and seeing what you will receive back, I believe will give you the messages of which way to go, and how to work it. Is that something that you should be involved in?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
like
no, I
this.
agree with that. And I think that the fine line between, well, I don't, I want to refine my idea before I present it to anyone or to the world. And then we're not just saying like just put it out there for everybody right away, but there are some excuses that people can make as a way to keep them from doing the things that they should be doing. You know what I'm saying? As like a reason not to, or a reason to procrastinate, basically. Or I gotta touch this up a little bit, or I have to learn how to do this first, or my process isn't quite right. And sometimes there's benefits to, of course, refining the process depending on what product or project it is that you're bringing out. But then in
Mhm.
some cases, sometimes you just got to put it out there and just, you know, refine it as you go, and make it better, because I think a part of being successful is building community around what you're trying to do.
Mhm.
But with that said, you have to, I think we've talked about this before about finding the right people, having that right circle of friends.
Yeah.
Um, and even in your friend groups, there are some people that you don't want to bring certain ideas to because they're negative Nancy's out there. Oh, you doing that? Linda can definitely speak. You doing that? Oh,
Yes. Oh,
how'd you
yeah.
come up with that? So you got, like Shauna said, timing is everything, but also knowing your audience and knowing who you want to present that to.
Yeah. For sure. For sure, Shauna, you are cracking me up. Oh my goodness.
Oh,
Ah, yes. Define who you want to be seen as and seen with.
Right.
That
oh,
is,
Exactly.
yeah. So I think, and we all have it in us. We're all good at something, right? Well,
for
maybe
sure.
it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm on my job, for example. I'm an IT person, so maybe I'm technical, but maybe like, yeah, I don't know if I want to help everybody with their computer stuff all the time, but maybe you kind of niche it and say, look, I'm good at this. Maybe this could be a good side hustle for me where I'm helping people out, installing software, fixing computers, whatever. But having that thing that, if it excites you, because sometimes I know people who are on the opposite end of the spectrum. They don't want to see a computer when they leave work. But maybe it's
Wait,
something,
Shauna.
maybe
Shauna got her hand raised, y'all.
yeah, hilarious. So maybe it's something that, wow, this is really cool, and kind of define your scope within that. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe you are super good at Adobe Photoshop, for example. I know a friend that's awesome at that, and she loves doing it. And
Mm.
I'm excited for her. So she's thinking about expanding that offering, outside of her corporate job, which I think is really, really cool. And so, at first, she's like, oh, I don't know. But now it's like, it excites her. So she's starting to tell people. So she's not that best kept secret. And then
Yes.
I love that. And she's working on defining her audience. And I love what you
Mhm.
said, Jeanette, about, finding a community. Could it be your family? Maybe it's friends, or maybe it's other like people who are in that space doing those things.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know
definitely.
what you brought to mind too is uh sometimes we may not know what our best kept secret is, and someone may point it out to you and say,
Mm.
hey, you're really good at marketing, or you're really good at the social media content, or you're really good at baking cakes, or have you thought about, I like when people point things out to you that you don't really,
Yeah.
recognize that you're really good at. And sometimes we take a lot of our gifts and talents, for granted, like, oh, it's just a thing,
I could
not
do
that,
it. Man, it's a little
right. And it's
something.
not that everything that we're talking about is not about creating a business or anything like
Mm-hmm.
that. It's just the world knowing, what you can bring, to the world to, inspire others, whether it's, however you want to use it. There was a time where I started so I started this thing with my girlfriends when we were coming up, and it was called, I was like, let's do it like a swap, and that word is not new.
Mm-hmm.
But it was something that I didn't know that girlfriends may or may not have been doing. We were pretty young. We were in our early 20s, and it would be like seasons would change, and you know how you would go out and you want to buy something new, or you want to replace
Mm-hmm.
something, and then you got this stuff that you're not using anymore. And I'm like, we should have a swap. Why don't we bag up some stuff that we don't care for anymore? Let's come
Yeah.
together and let's see, because someone else's is your treasure, right? What someone else's
Mm-hmm.
stuff is your treasure. And we used to like do this like almost every year, and it felt like we was like getting something new,
Yeah.
and it was fun, you know what I mean? And they always looked at me as like creative, and especially when it came to like the social aspect. So I got this, my family calls me hostess. Is it hostess, mostess, hostess with
Hostess with the mostest.
hostess with the mostest? And so I have that label, and it happened over time, just because of all the little small thoughtful things that I would do with
Mhm.
gatherings. There's always an activity when it involves me. So if we have a party or a gathering or barbecue, there's always going to be like a theme activity
Oh
that
yeah.
spins off to other, things. So that's just one example of I was told and given that. And now today, if anyone comes around me, they feel that, and it's so funny, like strangers now say, wow, you're like the hostess of the most. I'm like, wow, they don't even know that is my name, from my family. So, but yeah, let's speak to someone recognizing what you're good at and you receiving it,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, people have told me, "Oh, you're good at this." I think I give the example about the book I published recently, a children's book,
Mhm.
and my client slash friend, she wanted me to help her with the marketing aspect of it. I was like, "What?" I mean, y'all know we were all I was cracking up about it because, I would just have these ideas and I didn't look at that as marketing. In my mind, marketing is these big
Whole
corporations having
strategy.
this whole strategy, business plan, page 1.1 V5. I mean, that was sort of my thing in my head. But just in talking and working with her, for the first time ever doing a children's book or just that type of genre, I was like, wow, I didn't think I could be any good at this at all. But I've set up, a personal brand, me, right? And then my brand for my publishing company. And then I don't do anything fancy at all on social media, not from like what I see out here. So, and looking at that, when she came to me and asked for my help, I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. So just, blurting out ideas, it wasn't anything formal, but, we came up with a strategy for her website launch and then her virtual book launch. So I was just like amazed because I didn't see that in myself. And it was
Wow.
great, like to your points, that when people recognize that in you, it sort of like elevates you a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
wow, I can actually do this.
Mhm.
And it kind of, she inspired me to do a lot just with what I'm doing. Personal brand, a heart of chat, like, wow, here's an idea. Let's take it forward. Let's take it to the next step. And if that hadn't happened, if I had just kind of shrunk down and
You would have
said,
been a
no, I'm
best
not
kept
going to do
secret.
this, I'm like, oh, I'm not doing this. But just really, because sometimes like I said, Jeanette, we were laughing about this because formalizing a title, I'm like, I'm not a market strategist by any means. Like we'll be on like version 17 of some crazy document spreadsheet that I might pick up. And it wasn't even that. Just being able to do that piece, it made me feel good. And yeah, I think doing what makes you feel good too is a good point.
Yeah, I think that's really important, and I think a lot of times, and I'm not gonna like, I'm probably gonna mention it a few more times, but it's only because I want people to stop doing these things, and it's just we don't call ourselves things, we don't give ourselves title. One, because I don't want to be like, I don't, it's the another excuse of, I don't want to be too salesy, or I don't want to come off like a know-it-all, and and all these things are just different like limiting beliefs and fears that we have within ourselves, and why we play small in different ways that we do that in our life. And I can tell people, like when we talk about marketing, I can tell people all the things they need to do. And then I come to me, I'm like, somebody want to hear that. I'm like, well, yes, they do. But so we all kind of fall into those traps and excuses of either playing small or thinking that, no one really wants to hear what I have to say. And it's definitely a hindrance, because there are people that really are looking for, like, even just thinking about, like, if we hadn't done this podcast, right?
Yes.
We hadn't put it out there and just brush it off. Oh, that would have been a cool idea, and left it alone. Like, just the feedback that we've gotten from other women, and showing them that, yeah, like at 40 plus, you can reinvent yourself. You can do all these things. And it's, for us, it came out of just like pure passion. You know what I mean? And we could have made podcasts and put them out there. I'm guilty of that. Making a podcast and just putting stuff out there and not telling people, and then someone randomly finding like, hey, I didn't know you had posted a podcast episode. I was like, yeah, don't worry, you don't got to listen to that. And it's like, you really want people to listen to it, or you want people to appreciate and enjoy the things that you're putting out there. So just like, what tips or advice do you have for people to get over that fear of, or just those different limiting beliefs of, no one wants to hear what I have to say. I don't want to be too salesy,
I would test it with people that you can trust. Take it to people that and we talk about this a lot too. I don't want people around me that's just going to be like, yes, Shauna, yes, that's great, Shauna. Oh, wow, no. If it's not great, please tell me. if I'm on another wavelength and this is not going to be well received, I need honesty. you know. So take it to your loyal, trusted, people in your circle that are going to tell you the truth,
Yeah.
and test it first. That's what I would do.
Yeah, for sure. I think also too defining who you want to be seen as. If you know that, digging deep and getting to know yourself, and it may not come overnight. It may take some phases to get there, but sort
Yeah.
of defining that. And I do agree. I think that trusted kind of circle, person. Because sometimes we can get in our own heads if we're doing this alone. Imagine, like you said, Jeanette, what if we didn't do this podcast? We had
Right.
probably 1,000 Marco Polo videos, which could be podcast episodes in themselves, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So with that said, I mean, what if we said, oh, we're not going to share this with the world? I'm just going to brush this off. And we actually
Wow.
went through that defining process. And even more so with the skill set that we all brought to the table, we were able to design our custom mug here, which I have.
Yay! The Heart of Chat.
Yeah, the Heart
Welcome
of
to
Chat
the
mug.
Heart of
Yes,
Chat.
and we appreciate all of the mug orders. Just a quick plug there for that. And we love you guys so much, and thanks for the support. What if we just blew it off and said, we're not going to create a website. We're not going to do this podcast. We're not going to create a product, something where you can connect with us.
Right.
So connecting internally with yourself, and then also just one person, a partner. We have the three of us, right? And we want people to be able to do the same thing and follow suit.
Yeah. And I think that's important, like the connection piece of it, because fulfillment really isn't tied to $1. And for the people who are chasing that, they're never going to be fulfilled. Like, this is why you see so many celebrities that are unhappy. They have the money, but they don't have real people around them. They don't have that true fulfillment. I'm not saying all of them, but there are some out there that still suffer with I just heard this on a show we watched recently. Like, nothing is the feeling of being lonely is worse to be with someone and feel lonely than to be alone by yourself and feel lonely. Like, that's like the worst feeling. It's like to be with a group of people and still feel like you're completely alone. Like, they still don't see you. They only see what you can do for them. But I think just to the point that I was making earlier is that, just knowing that your fulfillment isn't tied to $1. And you can do some things and be happy, but it's not going to be your real happiness at the end of the day.
And I think too, we have to view, like you said, if you go after what fulfills you, then the money will follow. That's the way I was taught growing up. We do need money. We need to view it as an energy exchange and as a tool to, go after and go after our dreams, or, just to sustain our lifestyle, our daily lives. But yeah, to your point, fulfillment is the most important thing. With the Heart of Chat, I was just sharing with the ladies before we press record that I'm so fulfilled with this space that I don't even know how, like, it's I eat, sleep, boop, this. That's how I feel about the Heart of Chat. It's not just the three of us. It's how we're being received, how we're being viewed, how we're being loved.
Yeah.
The comments, the DMs, the emails, the support, the text messages. Some we have Marco Polo with a few people. It's people listen to it and they immediately right after they're reaching out to us and letting us know how it made them feel, and that fulfillment that we feel with the three of us that we're able to share with the world is bouncing back and giving us the love back, and that's just a thing of beauty.
Yeah, it truly is. I love all of the love that we're getting and the messages, and people are sharing on social media. I got my mug today. I mean, and just the response from that, it just makes me so excited. A fellow mug collector here with over 50 mugs that I've collected over the years. So just, it's just amazing. And I love your point about that, Shauna. And I saw you, Jeanette, sidebar with the Eagles Cup thing. See, y'all, we look, quick side. I don't want to be the best kept secret. Let
Almost
y'all
football
know.
season, let me
Look,
tell y'all.
I'm not about to be the best kept secret. Let y'all know I'm a Cowboys fan. Just for y'all listeners out there, just saying. And Jeanette has this big Eagles cup that she flashed in the camera. Like, I ain't gonna be the best kept secret. Where's my jersey? Okay, it's
Still
upstairs.
Ladies
I
and
still
gentlemen, you should hear the Marco Polos that go back and forth between these teams.
Oh, are we gonna have a
Eagles
football
all
season?
day, and I'm
Uh,
married a Cowboys fan. Lord help.
yeah, that's why I love the fall, y'all, because I'm
Yes.
about to break out my sweatshirt with the big star on it and my colors and all the good stuff.
We'll see how the
Okay,
Eagles
back
hat
to
go.
our regularly scheduled
Okay,
program.
sorry, y'all.
Let's
We
go
can't
jump.
talk.
Let's go. So yes, I would also add to this too, being proactive, and if you have an idea, be proactive about it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let it sit for too long. Even if you're resharing it with yourself, take a baby step each day
Yeah.
to to implement your idea. Nobody's saying you got to go create a whole website, an IG profile, and Twitter and all that. Because in this world of social media, I think people think that is the way that you can promote yourself. Maybe it's pick up the phone. Maybe it's a video to a friend. Maybe it's a text. Maybe you journal. Maybe you write it down. And we've talked a lot about journaling on this podcast. And you read it to someone. Hey, I'm gonna read you a paragraph of something that I'm passionate about, and let me know what you think. Again, to Shauna's point, a trusted circle or partnership with
Mm-hmm.
someone. That would be another point that I'd like to bring up. Just being proactive about what you're looking to do.
Yeah, and in that same lane, talking about being proactive and just like taking action. As
Mhm.
someone that is like a huge planner person, I love planners. I love planning. It can also be a way to procrastinate.
Mhm.
Always feeling like you got to plan. Oh, I just got to
Mhm.
plan this out a little bit more. Let me break this down a little bit more. And it's like, okay, well, when are you going to take some action on the things that you're planning, right?
Right.
Exactly.
And like
Yeah.
promoting yourself, like Lynda said, it's not you have to build the whole thing and put it all out there. Sometimes it could just be starting a conversation about the topic that you, or around that subject of things that you want to talk about or be known for, and just starting conversation and building community. So I think that's really important. And Shauna, I know for you, like this quote originally, Shauna had dropped this quote on us in a past episode, like Lynda said earlier, and it came from your coaches in London. Can you give some
Yes.
context around like why they said that to you, or how that
Yes.
conversation came about?
So my coaches in London, Grace and Charlotte, over in London, um, they have the SHEO.
Oh, I don't remember it.
Yeah, so they call us CEOs as part of their group, um, entrepreneurs, and basically it speaks to all of the things that we mentioned earlier. Is they it was at a time where I know that I was kind of struggling and on the fence, like with eNanny Link wasn't really formed when I started working with them. I was everywhere, YouTubing, blogging, Twitter. I was on every single platform you could think of and trying to learn these platforms at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it was my first appearance with social media, and for the solely purpose of trying to create something outside of myself online and to see where it would take me.
Mm-hmm.
And man, it has taken me far, 4 years next month. So, and I remember them always saying, they would say, okay, this Sunday, you're going to do a Facebook Live. And I'm like,
Oh, them
no.
lives, but they get everybody.
I'm
Now she
like,
the queen of
no.
lives, Lynda.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
Woo.
like, no, no, no. Because I wanted to do these Sunday parenting topics, live. And I wanted to start building an audience and start building. So I would go live at 5. And I was doing it for a couple of years. When I first started, they were like, if you cannot be the best kept secret, you never want to be the best kept secret. You have too much to give to this world, and there's too many people and family and children that need to know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And when they put it that way, I was like, wow, it really makes you understand how unique you are. And I speak a lot about zone of genius, which
Mhm.
is just playing towards your strengths. And so it pushed me out of my comfort zone to the point where now podcaster, and I got my own community called the Parenting Lounge. I just launched my nanny agency, and I'm almost done with my first children's book, which I'm working with Lynda with right now. So it's brought me to all of those things, and I've had an opportunity to be able to speak in front of different audiences for companies and personal brands. And so yeah, all because they told me I don't need to be the best kept secret. Everybody needs to know who you are and what you can bring to this world. And so that's how it all came about.
Yeah, I love that, Shauna. I mean, just when you shared it, I think, like you said, we all leaped for joy, and it just resonated with each of us. Like, wow, how do you do that? And immediately when I first heard, I was like, whew, I got nervous. I got scared. I'm like, yeah, I still want to be that, the best kept secret. Yeah, I'm going to do that. Well, one thing my mom has said, she has this quote that she says, don't just be a shrinking violet. And don't shrink for anyone. And it's like, oh really? And I'm still a little guilty of that, but just pushing myself to of course put myself out there with the book publishing and now with the podcast. It was a little bit of a stretch, but I'm like, wow, I realized I have something to say. And I love to talk. I love talking to you ladies and sitting down it's like sitting here having a cup of coffee with thousands of people, and just enjoying this space. And so that's sort of what what I've had to do. And it caused me to get organized in other areas of my life too, which I've embraced. And now it's like, oh, okay, it's seamless. All right, yep, we're gonna do this. And here we are.
That's awesome. I love this topic, and just even when Shauna originally dropped it out there and said, like, when she dropped it, we was like, what? Say that again? Hold on.
Yes.
But because we definitely do that a lot. I know when I started working at this nonprofit, and so like coming from corporate, well, yeah, depending on what you do in corporate. Coming from corporate, like spreadsheets are a big thing. Like if you don't know Excel, you just might as well just crawl under a rock. Spreadsheets, pivot tables, Lynda, analyzing data all day, every day. Certain email etiquettes, and just like different ways of how you communicate with people without having to email or call people all the time. And then going into a world of nonprofits where everybody I work with, I feel like they all started in that sector. And so like they do things a little different. I'm just like, there's definitely a more efficient way to do that. And like, I would just be sitting before quarantine, I would just be sitting at my desk listening to them talk, like, they should probably just do that differently. And I'm like, I'm not gonna say anything. And then somebody would finally come and ask me a question, and I'm like, well, you could do it this way. I was like, but I didn't want to like just insert myself and feel like a know-it-all. Yes. Which is definitely another one of those excuses. And there's definitely ways to come off wrong. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. But you also like don't want to just sit back and then let people fumble and stumble, and then they're like, well, dang, you could have just told me why you ain't helped me out. Like It was so funny. They were trying to get this picture that they needed for like the newsletter or some flyer they were doing, and this girl brought in her camera. She, just takes pictures for fun. And I'm sitting there at my desk, and they're like, oh, I don't know. Well, let me see. Can you try this? And the girl that owned the camera, she was in the picture. So they asked another girl to take the picture. So she was like, which button do I push? And I was just sitting there, and I just looked up, and I just kept typing. And then the guy finally was like, Jeanette's a photographer. Can we just give the camera to her? And I was like, I can take the picture.
That is funny.
And it's just like little things like that, whether, like you said, if it's not so much about just starting a business, even in your job, if you want a promotion, if you want them to know that you're capable of doing certain things, you have to put yourself out there in a way that they know that you're capable of doing it. And then some people, I'm sure y'all ran into this in corporate, is some people are like, well, that's not my job, so I'm not doing that. And I'm like, but you complaining because you can't get a promotion, but you won't do nothing extra to show them that you're capable of doing more, so where they'll offer you to do something more. And I think I can go corporate, that's a whole nother discussion. But just to relate it, like, so if you're not someone that is even interested in starting a business, how you can apply this in like your career is to let them know that you're capable of doing something. Even if you see a process that's broken, like, you know, work it out and then present it to someone. Say, Lynda, you did that before with you created like a whole nother job for yourself and was like, look, this is what we can do. This is how it'll benefit us, benefit the company. And it worked in your favor. Like, so I don't want people to get lost in the, oh, well, they're not talking to me. Because it definitely applies to everyone and in many different areas of life. So.
May I add on top of that too, is this is also a negotiating tool for yourself.
Yeah.
You know, to get the extra perks from the company, or to be able to, when it comes time for them to allocate funding, you know, you can start negotiating, well, you know, this is what I've been able to do, and these are the stats of how things were improved in this area. So I feel that I am a more valuable employee, and I feel that I, you know, deserve whatever it is that you would like from the company, you know. I know someone that worked for a company for many years, and she started working, realizing that her skills that she was offering this company was outstanding, and that she could actually have her own independent company and do this for other companies. But continually to work for them, she wouldn't be able to do that. So she needed to separate herself from the company. So when she decided to put in her notice after she felt like she was strong and confident enough to get her business going, she actually turned around and the same week went back to them and gave them a presentation to hire her as an independent contractor to do the same thing that she was doing for them. But from a different capacity as a business owner versus an employee, because you know that as a business owner, you do have more flexibility and more say and more, you know, but you can still, you know, continue to work for the company, and, you know, it can be a way for you to move up in the company. And I want to also talk about, if it's not even about that or about anything, the basics to all of this is just self-improvement. So no matter what you're doing in your life, whether you want to be a better wife or a better spouse or a better auntie, or you know, whatever goals you have for yourself, this is all of this applies to wherever you are in your life. It's all about self-improvement for yourself, finding your skills, your gifts, and being able to help others, because this is all about just serving each other and serving a need.
Yeah, definitely.
I like that a lot. And that, Shauna, with your point about the young lady who did the, I guess, the corporate strategy and created her own thing, it definitely ties in to one of our previous episodes, how to use your plan A to fund your dreams. And I really like that tie-in a lot, because to your point about just, you know, I had to reinvent myself, you know, over the years at work, and, you know, I'm loving it. It was a stretch for me to get involved in some of the activities. And the main thing that I'm doing now, in addition to my IT stuff, is diversity and inclusion initiatives. So initially, you know, with all of the things going on in the world right now, of course, that's like the topic and something that, you know, I'm passionate about. And I took a huge leap to lead a team. And I don't have a D&I background. It's like, oh, I joined a group, and, you know, I know I'm a woman of color, but it's just like, oh, okay, I don't know everything diversity and inclusion, but I've been able to sort of walk the path with others, write up a plan, present that plan, and now I'm part of a bigger strategy with some of the executives in my department, which I'm loving that. So that piece, it's allowed me to grow. I'm able to stretch myself. If I don't know, I encourage our listeners too to ask questions. If it's something that's, you know, if you have a burning desire, find that group of people where you can leverage your experience, just like the young lady. I mean, she leveraged her experience where she was, and now look at her presenting back to the company that she worked for. Can you imagine if she didn't do that? She probably wouldn't be where she is today, one, and two, she would have just kept all that stuff to herself, and she would have just been that kept secret, which it probably was bursting out of her to do the things that she wanted to do.
Yes.
Based on what you said, Lynda, that's excuse number 455 is I don't know it all. I didn't go to school for this. I don't come from that background. And even in the space that I'm in, like I have a passion for entrepreneurs, for minority women, Black owned businesses, all of it. And just to see them grow, create wealth within their families. And like, that's my passion. But then you get into these rooms with these people who are more political on economic development, and they have all these buzzwords. And I'm just like, look, people need to be able to take care of their family and not be solely dependent on a 9-to-5. They need to be able to earn an income, create jobs, and those types of things. And like, I'm not politically correct about the way that I say things all the time. And I don't know all the buzzwords that should be said or should be spoken, but I do know where my heart is, and I do know where my passion is. And I can connect to some people. I got some connections to some people that can handle that part of it for me. But I feel like you just can't make that excuse of I don't know enough or I don't have enough.
Right.
Rule number 33. This is from our coaches too. Do what you do best and outsource the rest.
Yes.
Yes.
That's also from Grace and Charlotte.
We get hung up in that a lot, where we just like, well, no, I'm gonna try to do it. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. You do not have to do everything.
Yeah, I was hung up in that, especially when everything first started. I think I shared with y'all, and I shared with a lady that I'm working with in a career cohort program. And I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, this was just a few weeks ago. Like, I'm on this diversity inclusion team. Like, this is not my background. I don't know how to do this. I was, definitely scared. She's like, look, this is what you got to do. Connect with some people on LinkedIn, maybe some professional platforms. Do you know anybody? Do you have friends that do this? And I didn't stop to think about that because I was in panic mode initially. But I reached out to one of my friends who, her son and my son are very good friends, one of my basketball moms, and she works for an organization and she's in the diversity and inclusion office. I'm like, I didn't think about that. So I texted her like the night before this big meeting that we were having with our executives to present what our organization, how we can have a better footprint in this area. And it was like seamless, 5 quick bullets. So I calmed down, did the 5 bullets, and it went over well. I was like, oh, okay, maybe I can do this.
Right.
But I was guilty of that. Like, oh, I'm not going to say anything, but then some things needed to be said. So I had to push myself and, of course, update my resume and my LinkedIn profile and all that stuff to include, hey, I'm not the expert, but I'm putting it out there. I'm leveraging what I've learned.
Finding your voice, yes.
Yeah. And I'm like, shoot, I want to sit up a little straighter, leverage my knowledge in time like an expert. I mean, that's why I'm like, oh, it's like, then I was telling myself, oh, I'm not the expert. Okay, Lynda, stop saying that. So it's gonna be bumps along the way, y'all. Just, you're gonna beat yourself up. But sometimes we hesitate to use that word expert. And I am the number one guilty person of that. Yep, hand up, church finger up and all. That is me some of these days. But the goal is to keep getting better. And that's
exactly self-improvement.
Yes,
exactly.
Keep getting better. Self-improvement, just really being able to stand up. A long way from where I was in June. It's now, September. And here we are. So it can be done. You can do it.
Yeah. And you have to come out from behind of always being the cheerleader for other people, right? You have to, it's okay to cheerlead people, but you have to cheerlead yourself. You have to push yourself out there, and it's okay to say that, hey, I want to be known for this, or I want to do this because I have a passion for this, or I want to help people. And sometimes we just and I'm like we said, we're talking from experience because a lot of the stuff we're probably guilty of in our own past or current. But I like to help through what I do, help people be seen and be visible. But at the same time, I don't always want myself to be seen. But it's just but how can you continue to help people if people don't know you exist? Referrals are great, but they're only going to go so far if you're not showing people what you do, or when people go to find you, they're confused because what they see isn't what other people are showing or telling them that you are capable of doing. And so
Good points.
You really have to, I think Lynda said it earlier about, who do you want to be seen as? You really have to define that. And it can't just be the person behind the scenes. I can't remember the guy's name, Lynda. I know you're really into entertainment. it was this interview of this gentleman who like is very well known in like the music industry and entertainment industry, this Black man, and how like everyone knows him, and he's like he connects everybody together, and I'm just like, I've never heard of this dude before.
Yeah, it was a Netflix documentary. Yeah, last summer.
Yeah, and I was just
of course, Lynda would know.
I knew it. I knew she would.
Oh, I watched that thing twice. It was amazing.
Yeah,
Quincy Jones was in this Netflix documentary, but this guy is like the connector. Did he have a degree in all this space of entertainment? No, but he was like an advisor, and it's like, wow, I didn't even know who he was. I had heard that there was a guy, but when they started putting pictures up and at these different awards, like that dude was actually
he was gifted. That was his gift. His gift was connections. And he was probably told that, or probably as part of his zone of genius as a child, he probably was really good at all the way back then, you know, and someone identified that, he worked it, and then look where he is now.
He's sitting in the rooms with Smokey Robinson, Quincy Jones, Temptations, and I see this guy. I'm like, I know who I've seen his face in pictures. I can't think of his name though. I know.
It's okay. We'll read it in the show notes.
We're gonna put it in the show notes because I'm gonna go right to Netflix.
I know that documentary.
I know the documentary. It's wild, but yeah, these are all excellent points, and I just think I'm kind of like the cheerleader. I don't mind being the cheerleader. I'll tell y'all that.
I like the cheerleader too.
I'm like, yay, rah rah rah. But you're right, and I've worked hard over the last 7 years to sort of come from behind the scenes. But then I get comfortable, like Jeanette said. We're all three of us working through these things. So we're telling you either what we've been through, what we're going through, or what's currently happening. Right, but trying to come from behind the scenes a little bit, because I could be comfortable. Being comfortable is you're just comfortable, but pushing yourself allows that growth.
And then what happens is you get comfortable with just like helping everyone else get to where they're going, and then you feel some kind of way. Like then you feeling some kind of way because you're seeing other people do the things that you want to do, and sometimes they can be doing it with excellence, and sometimes they can be doing a mediocre job of it. And you're just like, what? I mean, I could have done that, but you're not doing it. And that's the difference. They took action and you didn't. So whether or not right now you feel like what they're doing is, I'm not going to curse, is mediocre or half, you know what? They're doing the work. So you cannot complain about other people doing things that you're not doing. And I've mentioned this book before, Big Magic. It talks about that, about how you have these ideas and you hold on to them and then you don't do anything with them. And then somebody comes out with something and you're like, I know I didn't even tell nobody this idea. How is she doing the same thing? Or he doing the same thing that I said I was going to do. And it's just like, and then now you're like scrambling, trying to figure out, well, how can I get there? How can I get there? But you don't know the work that they've been putting in behind the scenes to get to that point. And so like the longer you sit on it, the more you're going to resent seeing other people do the work. And it's just not a good space to be in. So you it's like you have to focus. You can encourage and help people, but you also have to make time to encourage and help yourself, because nobody's just going to hand it to you. It just don't work like that. I'm sorry.
That's true.
My daddy taught me that. Look.
You gotta work for it. Yeah, you gotta work for it. Put that work in. That's right. Wow, ladies, I love this so much. And shout out to Shauna and the London coaches for this topic. I mean, this is amazing. Like seriously. And we're going to put them in the show notes as well, so you guys can follow them and connect with them, because we had the pleasure, I think, Shauna, of meeting Charlotte, I believe.
Yes, Charlotte Barrett.
Charlotte, and she was just
both of them. I thought
her sister is Nadine Barrett, but Grace and Charlotte are the two that have started this business together, and they're also best friends, and they've been knowing each other since they were teens. So
I was thinking the other one.
Nadine did the self-guided meditation for us. She is Charlotte's sister, and Charlotte did the self-care on the go.
Oh, that's the one I missed.
You haven't met Grace, which is Charlotte's partner.
Okay. I was thinking Nadine and Charlotte were partners, but they're sisters.
They're sisters.
I know they're sisters, but I thought they were sisters and partners. Okay, so Grace Shout out Grace. Sorry, Grace. I ain't want to leave you.
Yes. Yeah. Amazing ladies. Yeah, we love
And
y'all.
and Nadine's brand is Emerging Warriors. So she
Okay.
has a Facebook group where if people are trying to bring that warrior out and just try to be, all you can be, she's
Yeah.
all about that self-care,
Mhm.
self-mind, body, and soul tying in together. So yeah.
Awesome. Great. Thank you.
Awesome.
All right. This is great, ladies. My
Yes.
goodness. Love it. Love it. Love it. So, any final words or call to action for our listeners?
I have one.
Sure.
Go for it.
It's okay not to know all the answers.
Mm.
It doesn't have to be right in front of you. And I'm speaking to myself first. This week, ladies and gentlemen, I had a day where I had 100 different things that I thought I was supposed to solve in that day.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I crashed.
Yeah.
And the harder chat helped me with a little pick me up. And I said, I need to go back and listen to Resilience After the Storm because I'm getting lost here. I just had a day where I just felt like I needed to solve so many unknowns that were coming at me in the future,
Yeah.
and was forgetting about taking my own advice on taking small steps. You don't need to know all the answers. The answers lie within you. So it's okay. It's okay not to know all the answers. And again, I'm being selfish with this one. I'm speaking to myself first on that takeaway.
Yeah.
There you go.
No,
There you
I
go.
like that. It
Yes.
makes me think of The Alchemist. That key message in The Alchemist is about the universe is conspiring for your good.
Good.
Yeah, that's what makes me think of when you say that.
Yeah. Good.
So for me, I would have to say, like, I really want this to be actionable for people. So three things: like, get a notebook, piece of paper, and I would say, one, figure out like what are the excuses that you're making for why you can't start or why you're not doing the things that you want to do, or why you're not putting yourself out there in whatever area of life that is for you, and like where does that stem from. So what are your main excuses, where does that stem from? And then like to Lynda's point, who do you want to be seen as, and what do you want, and or what do you want to be known for? Like you need to really figure those things out. And I'm not saying it has to be like and know and be okay with the fact that it could pivot, it could shift, because as you're exploring who you want to be known as and the things you want to be known for, other opportunities will present themselves, and you have the ability to reinvent yourself as you go. So don't feel like you're handheld to that answer either. Mm-hmm. And then lastly, the third question I would say to ask yourself is, what's one thing that I can do immediately to put myself out there and take action? Just one thing. Like you don't have to come up with a million things. What's one thing that you can do to put yourself out there? And I feel like if you sit with that, meditate on it, journal about it, but don't sit too long. You got to take some action.
Right. I love those. I love both of those points. That is great. Yes, definitely actionable steps for our audience to take away. I would say to Shauna's point to also know where to draw the line, where and when to, like, because you were saying earlier, Shauna, that you were trying to do 1,000 things, and just knowing where to say, okay, I got to pause. Mm-hmm. And Shauna has this amazing saying that we recently posted on our social media and in our last episode, pivot, pause, pour. Knowing when to do that.
Y'all gotta see her dance.
Y'all gotta watch this video. We got Eagles Cups, we got dance debuts. Mia made a debut. So yeah, but yes, knowing when and where to draw the line. So I think that's a key point. And please, the three tips that Jeanette gave, though they'll also be in our show notes. We'll definitely write those down for you to actually have something tangible to walk away with. So yeah, definitely appreciate your time and listening. And Shauna, do you want to tell our audience where they can find us?
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you can find us on Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram at The Heart of Chat. We will be back every week for another Meatful Monday, because you know what it's going to be like, ladies. What's it going to be like?
What's it going to be, Shauna? Tell the people.
Fuego, baby. Come on back.
Thank you.
We'll see y'all next week.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Bye, ladies.
Bye, ladies.